Arsenal fans, something very interesting is happening behind the scenes at the Emirates, and Victor Osimhen's name has suddenly entered the conversation. Yes, Victor Osimhen and Arsenal, but that is not even the biggest story. Because while Arsenal are reportedly discussing Osimhen with Galatasaray, Gabriel Martinelli could be on his way out, Ethan Nwaneri is attracting serious interest, Bradley Barcola has suddenly become more attainable, and Arsenal are still looking for defensive reinforcements. And there is one major question hanging over all of this. Is Arsenal preparing for a huge late window shakeup? Let's break down everything you need to know. Victor Osimhen. Could this really happen? Let's start with the story that has Arsenal fans talking. According to reports cited by The Telegraph, Arsenal have held talks with Galatasaray in which Victor Osimhen was brought up. Now, before we get carried away, this does not mean Arsenal have agreed a deal for Osimhen. The report suggests that his availability came up during discussions involving possible exits for Gabriel Martinelli and Ethan Nwaneri. And that is where things get really interesting. Arsenal have already been linked with several elite forwards this summer, including Julian Alvarez. But Alvarez could be extremely difficult to sign. Atletico Madrid's reported asking price is said to be more than £98 million, a figure that Arsenal reportedly considered too high. So could Osimhen become the alternative? There are certainly signs pointing in that direction. Galatasaray paid almost £60 million to sign Osimhen from Napoli, and reports suggest they want to recover their investment if they sell him. One report even claims Arsenal are confident about completing a deal. But remember, we are still talking about reports and negotiations, not a completed transfer. And now we get to the part that could change everything. Gabriel Martinelli. Arsenal exit getting serious. Arsenal have reportedly received an offer from Galatasaray worth around £38.9 million for Gabriel Martinelli. And this isn't simply a random rumor. Reports say discussions between Arsenal and Galatasaray are continuing. But there is a twist. Martinelli's camp has reportedly told Arsenal that the Brazilian winger has no interest in joining Galatasaray. So even if Arsenal are willing to consider the offer, the player's position could become a major obstacle. Martinelli's current Arsenal contract runs until 2027, with the club holding an option to extend it through 2028. And Arsenal would obviously need to think carefully before allowing an established attacking player to leave. Because if Martinelli goes, Arsenal need another forward. And that brings us straight back to Victor Osimhen. Osimhen, the Martinelli replacement. Imagine this scenario. Arsenal sell or move on from Martinelli. They then use those negotiations with Galatasaray to explore the availability of Osimhen. Suddenly, what initially looked like two completely separate transfer stories could actually be connected. And there is even more. Former Arsenal midfielder Emmanuel Petit has previously backed Osimhen as the better option for Arsenal compared with Victor Gyökeres. So there's already plenty of excitement around the Nigerian striker. But Arsenal are not only looking at the attack, they also want defensive reinforcements. Jarell Quansah or Ezri Konsa. Arsenal are reportedly looking to strengthen their defense, particularly after William Saliba's World Cup injury. Two names have been heavily mentioned, Jarell Quansah and Ezri Konsa. Sky Sports reported that Arsenal were in talks with Bayer Leverkusen for Quansah, with his versatility reportedly viewed positively by Mikel Arteta. But there is a contradiction in the latest reports. Later information from Bayer Leverkusen sources claimed that the club had not received any contact or approach from Arsenal for Quansah. So where does that leave us? At the moment, Quansah remains a name to watch, but the situation is far from clear. Quansah, meanwhile, could be even more difficult. Arsenal are reportedly prepared to go as high as £40 million, but Aston Villa's valuation is around £60 million. And Villa are reportedly reluctant to sell because they consider Quansah an important player. So Arsenal may need another option, and they might already have one. Marc Pubio, the surprise defensive option. According to Fabrizio Romano, Arsenal are considering Marc Pubio. The Gunners are reportedly trying to establish how much Atletico Madrid would want for the Spanish defender. However, Atletico are keen to keep him. So once again, Arsenal have identified an option, but getting the player through the door could be another matter entirely. And why Arsenal are working on defense? Something very interesting is happening with Bradley Barcola. Arsenal have a window of opportunity. This could be one of the biggest opportunities of the entire transfer window. Liverpool have reportedly paused their negotiations for Bradley Barcola, and that could give Arsenal an opening. Why? Because PSG are already loaded with attacking options. They have players such as Ousmane Dembele, Ficha Kvaratskhelia, Desiree Doué, and Magnus Akluche, while they are also reportedly closing in on Ferran Torres. That could potentially make Barcola's situation more complicated. But there is one huge problem: the reported asking price, £145 million. Yes, £145 million has been touted for Bradley Barcola. So Arsenal may have an opportunity, but whether they are willing to pay that kind of money is another question entirely. Ethan Nwaneri, Arteta has made his position clear. Now let's talk about one of the most important stories for Arsenal's future, Ethan Nwaneri. Arsenal are reportedly not looking to permanently sell Nwaneri this summer. In fact, they would reportedly only consider such a move if the deal included a favorable buyback clause. AC Milan have reportedly made a loan offer for Nwaneri, with a £34 million option to buy. But Arteta's comments are particularly important. The Arsenal manager has made it clear that he wants Nwaneri to stay, but only if Arsenal can guarantee him meaningful playing time. And honestly, that makes sense. Nwaneri needs minutes. He needs to develop. And Arsenal need to make sure that one of their brightest young talents does not spend an entire season watching from the bench. So this could ultimately come down to one question. Can Arteta guarantee Ethan Nwaneri enough football? And then there's Fabio Vieira and Reiss Nelson. Arsenal are also trying to clear space. Fabio Vieira has returned after his loan spell at Hamburg, where he impressed. Hamburg reportedly wanted to bring him back, but decided against activating their purchase option because they considered it too expensive. Vieira is reportedly keen to leave Arsenal. And then there is Reiss Nelson. Marseille have reportedly made an offer for the Arsenal winger. However, Arsenal are expected to reject the approach, so there could still be significant movement in both directions before the window closes. Final thoughts. What is Arsenal's plan? And this is where everything becomes fascinating. Arsenal are simultaneously dealing with Martinelli's future, Nwaneri's future, Osimhen links, Barcola interest, Kwanzaa and Konsa defensive targets, Pubil as another defensive option, and the potential departures of players such as Vieira and Nelson. This doesn't necessarily mean Arsenal are about to make 10 more signings, but it does suggest that Mikel Arteta and Andrea Beta still have important decisions to make before the transfer window closes. And with the new Premier League season almost here, Arsenal cannot afford to get those decisions wrong. So Arsenal fans, I want to know what you think. Would you take Victor Osimhen at Arsenal? And if Arsenal had to choose between Osimhen and Julian Alvarez, who would you pick? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want the latest Arsenal transfer news as these deals develop, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay locked in because this transfer window is not finished yet.